We are back with another episodes of Odds and End Zones on BGN Radio. I am joined as always, by my guy Zo. Zo, what's up, my man?
What's up, brother? Happy Saturday.
Chilling, it's a nice Saturday. Recording on Saturday this week. I think you'll be listening to this on Sunday.
Yep.
But went to the Flyers game last night. First Flyers game of the season, home opener, season opener, both. And they lost in shootouts. Carter Hart played terrible, which not the most unsurprising turn of events. I may have called him Carson Hart last night at the game. But I did hit on, for the Odds and End Zones brand, I did Joel Farabee to have the first goal.
That's
and he did.
Cool.
I did a good for the brand. I did a lot of shopping around. He was plus 1,100 on DraftKings, and I got him at plus 1,200 on FanDuel.
Yeah, very good.
So feeling good about myself.
That's awesome.
And I was feeling good about myself at the Eagles game on Thursday, just going in there. And I'm talking not just because they were playing Tom Brady, but from the pure atmosphere perspective.
Yeah.
I think it being a Thursday night game, and I wasn't even sure it was definitely going to be a great crowd because, yes, it's a night game, but it's a Thursday night game. I know tons of people can't swing those because of work, because of others' responsibilities, because people say, I don't want to really do that and have to go to work on Friday morning, or they're not able to take off Friday. There's a lot of factors there that you might not think it's going to be as crazy of a crowd as it could be. But we had talked before that the 49ers game I thought was a disgrace from the fan base.
Yeah.
Kansas City was fine, but it's still it didn't feel like a true Eagles game, I think, because of the way people have already soured on the team, and that's only increased since then. And the fact that they were playing, again, an overwhelming opponent. They've played some great offenses so far. And, Tampa Bay is that kind of like Kansas City in that obviously they were both in the Super Bowl last year, but they're both high-powered offenses. Both games you think, as Eagles fans, they might go there and get smacked. Right. And they did do a little bit of a backdooring, but they did cover against Tampa Bay and made it interesting at the end of the game. But I will say that I am happy with the fan performance there. I think people were rocked up. Because it's Brady, there's not that same connection with Patrick Mahomes. And if Andy Reid was somehow a player and on the field, maybe it would be like that. But for any fan base, Tom Brady brings out the rowdiest and the opposing fans. But for Philadelphia specifically, given how Super Bowl 52 went on February 4th, 2018, that's even more so the case.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be that rabid personality that he brings out of fans, just because he is who he is. But for us, especially, our fan base, and given what happened, Eagles won the Super Bowl. I think that it's always going to be even more special, mostly because he, in so many ways, he always hints at how this team haunts him. Now they're obviously recent.
There are only two teams that haunt him, right?
Literally, only two teams that haunt him.
There's only two.
Eli's Giants and Nick Foles Eagles, the only teams that haunt him. So, I think given it means a lot more. There's only 10 players from that team on this current Eagles roster. And
one's gone from Thursday night.
Recent events, one's gone. So, I still think that it's something that it's really cool that it still sticks in his craw, because, we obviously still celebrate it and we still talk about it. So it's fun to know that we're still on his mind too.
I would be mad if we weren't. I mean, the way we revel in this.
Yeah.
The fact that if he was so blasé about it and just treated it as a game that he was playing the Carolina Panthers or something like that, that would pee me off, I think.
He was like, whatever. I won another one since then. It was just another show for me. But the fact that it still pisses him off, it means a lot more.
And I think that was definitely true with the Foles game last year that was on Thursday Night Football. I think it was actually coincidentally Week 6 too.
Yeah.
When Chicago and Foles came in and beat them there. He wasn't. I mean, that was the infamous, for the second time, snuck Foles on the handshake.
Yeah, when he snuffed him again on the handshake. Yeah. We got your number, Tampa Tom.
What was the vibe of the atmosphere from watching at home?
There
were some F Tom Brady chants going that were nice, and I wanted to mention this on the pod. There's a guy a row or two in front of me, not a guy that usually has season tickets, not someone I've seen before or anything like that. Or there's people behind me I have a good relationship with that I've seen for years and years.
Yeah.
But certain seats and certain rows or whatever. And I'm leading the charge a little bit on the F Tom Brady chant as you could expect. And the guy's like going out to either go to the bathroom or buy a beer or buy her food. And he's like looking at me, goes, "Don't do that." He like feeds off. And I'm like, it's Tom effing Brady. Nothing anyone could say in the entire universe could get in his head, either good or bad. Like me doing that doesn't affect that he has the most type 1 killer personality in the history of the sport.
Like,
if you're not going to go there and have fun on a Thursday night, why are you even there?
It's like saying that's so ridiculous. It's like saying, yo, don't say F Michael Jordan, man. He really feeds off that. Like it's
Michael Jordan's feeding either way, man.
he wants to cut our hearts out regardless. Like it's not like maybe if we be nice to him, he'll only beat us by 60 points instead of the typical 70 a night. No, like they're type 1 killers. They want to end you either way. It doesn't matter if we're saying F Tom Brady or not, or we're giving a low golf clap, when he's when he's straightening himself up. That does not matter, dude.
Yeah, he's throwing a touchdown at Antonio Brown, and we're all supposed to golf clap for him. Like hats, we're doing the Jeter nephew salute to him.
Right, hey, hats off. You really spilled the defenders on that one.
You really got us again for the 1,000th time. I just thought that was weird. Like
I thought the vibe at home was I think a lot of us like taking toll of the Twitter timeline and stuff like that. I think a lot of us expected a blowout. I think but we were also, it was a pleasant surprise. But the thing that sucked the most is when you just saw they just weren't good enough. Like,
yes.
They just are they're a bad team with no offensive identity and a defense that just isn't good enough on the back end to make crucial plays, right? And like when a team shows you who they are, you have to believe it. And they're a 2-4 football team right now, and that's a reality. But more so, I think what you saw watching at home on Thursday night is there was no faith that they would get the stop that they needed, or they would make the drive that they needed, because if Tampa Bay doesn't go for it on those 4th downs and just kick the field goal they're supposed to, that game's over before we even turn our heads. But like the fact that they couldn't capitalize on all those mistakes and they couldn't capitalize on the times when the defense actually did stop them shows you exactly how far away, like where the gap is between them being able to win that game and how they really lost that game.
The back 7 is killing me. I will give props to Avonte Maddox, who I thought played a really good game. And honestly, probably his best game since his rookie season, where he did flash a lot, filling in for a couple different defenders at a couple different positions. But and I think some of it is, it's the chicken or the egg. Is it the scheme or is it talent? And they're certainly not super talented on the back end, specifically at linebacker. I think they're getting absolutely crushed. It's an ad nauseum thing people have been talking about for decades. And sometimes I feel like it's okay. Like it was okay in 2016, 2017, 2018. They had guys that were good enough there. But Alex Singleton could lead the league in tackles. But if he's getting tackled, getting pushed back 8 yards downfield and making the tackle, it's not really doing much for you.
Like his tackles, he'll lead leading tackles because he's always getting juked after the first tackle.
Yeah.
So the first attempt, OJ Howard runs him over and then he recovers and he chases him down. So like good effort, but you're tackling him 10 yards after you needed to.
We were 2 straight home games. I've seen Jonathan Gannon somehow he doesn't want to play dime, which like I'm not a defensive maestro. I understand what you're doing, but at a certain point, we've seen in two straight home games, specifically when I'm there, we've seen Eric Wilson or Alex Singleton sticking Tyreek Hill. And then we see, Davion Taylor on Antonio Brown. 2 of them, maybe the 2 of the 5 or 6 most talented wide receivers I've ever seen. And because Jonathan Gannon doesn't want to go on a dime, they're not a dime team, even though they
Right.
You can be a dime team if you want to be. You just
gotta,
want to
be a
dime
team.
Are you a nickel team? Like this team stinks on defense. So it's like if you're going to stink either way, why don't you just have the right personnel out there to counter, 2 of the most explosive offenses in the league, or 2 of the most explosive offenses ever, really, when you're looking at the toll of the talent. And to see that, it's like, you're not learning anything from these mistakes already.
And there's no he says it as in like there's a tax you have to pay for being a dime team. You can be whatever you want to be. So like if you decide during the week that you know maybe it benefits us if we play a dime, then okay, you're playing a dime, and then it doesn't get any easier, to be honest. You go into next week, you're going into Vegas when they need a win, the kind of week that they had, and you're going up against a familiar face in Nelson Aguilar. But then they got the new Ruggs on the other side. They got Waller, and a couple of young guys who tend to flash. So history tells us, recent history at least, that where it almost assured to see another linebacker sticking one of their incredibly fast slot players, and it's gonna piss us all off again.
Well, the thing that I don't understand when he's saying that they're not a dime team is that I thought the whole point that we were gassing him up this offseason about and kind of sipping the Kool-Aid was that he doesn't have one true defensive scheme.
Right.
That he could be a 3-4 team. He could be a 4-3 team. He could do a bunch of different things, have mixed fronts. So that's true for the front. Why can't you mix it up and not just be a nickel team, but a dime team at times, or even a quarter if the situation calls for it? So I don't really understand that at all, because the identity of this defense is kind of in the sense that they don't have an identity. They're able to do a bunch of different things in theory, because in practice it hasn't been that case. But why not, in theory, again, can't you also be a dime team when you're playing against these teams that have unbelievable slot receivers or receivers that are incredible, just have to be lining up in the slot? And again, it's a case where they've played not just Kansas City and Tampa Bay, but Dallas is obviously looking like one of the best offenses in the league too. And Dak, unfortunately, having a MVP caliber season, as much as I hate to say it out loud.
It sounds like they both, him and Sirianni, went to the Doc Rivers school of making adjustments, which is we don't make adjustments.
Yeah.
They're the common thing, like Sirianni was saying, we're not changing preparation, we're not changing, our offensive approach. He's saying we're not a dime team, we're not changing much up. And like I get wanting to find an identity, but maybe that's not the way you find one. And so like you're not the Ravens of old. Like the Ravens had Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, and they did what they did every single game because they dared teams to just beat those guys. Like, we're gonna make you scheme around us. We don't have that. So like you can't tell people to scheme around us. Like, so if you do, what they're gonna do is what the past two teams have done. They've trotted out 4 wide receiver sets and sometimes 3 wide receivers and a really, really good tight end. And they just dink and dunk and beat you, and they tip their shots down the field, and they bet that one of their receivers is going to be on one of our slow linebackers. And sure enough, here it is. So I think that eventually you're going to get out schemed, or you're going to get schemed out of what you're trying to do, and you have to make adjustments. And they haven't showed the willingness to do that so far.
Quick aside from a typically boring Eagles team, I have the take that, I've believed this for a bit, that Ed Reed is the best non-quarterback of all time.
Yeah, I think so. I love Ed Reed.
Yeah, I think he's like obviously Dawkins is my god, but I mean he's not Ed Reed. You know what I mean? Like they're different types of players, and they were in a similar eras. But I think Dawkins is better than Palomalu, but Ed Reed is I think an all timer.
I love him so much.
2 rings, right?
Yeah,
or just one.
I'm pretty sure that too.
When he got drafted after that 2000 team.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. No, you're right. When I was like little, obviously, I think I love Deion. I love Deion because of the flashiness and the sneakers. But I think non-quarterback, Ed Reed is definitely the best. I've never seen anyone cover the amount of land that he covers on the football field, and he did it effortlessly too. Like a very, very, very hard player. He got his nose dirty, went down and hit, did all that stuff. But he was someone who he always knew where the ball was going to be and where to go. And he's another guy, speaking of Brady, who Brady said like gave him nightmares because he was so good at what he did. It never mattered. So like Brady may have won the game, but it was never easy going up against Ed Reed because he's so good at everything that he did. We may not ever see like that, another prototype like that before, because guys just don't come out of college that prepared anymore. I mean, that Miami team was nuts, in any way, speaking of college, but the way that he came into the league as prepared and polished as he was, and as ready as he was. There just won't be another safety like that for quite some time.
I love that Miami team. I hated that he went to the Giants because I absolutely love Jeremy Shockey. Like every young white guy had to love this brash post new metal receiver / tight end or whatever.
He was definitely one of the first, and what sucked obviously was at least watching him as a Giant.
Yeah, exactly.
He was also very good. I can take a guy who sucks and talks trash because all you do is joke on him anyway. Like he talked trash and he backed it up because he was so good. You just hate him.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. You hate him if he's on any other team, but if he was on the Eagles, he would have been like my favorite player of all time.
Right. You're like, dude, I can't stand your guts, but if you were wearing green, you'd be my favorite player.
Yeah, and with Ed Reed, I feel like you mentioned Dion. I think there's a top 3 with those two and Charles Woodson for the best ball skills ever for a defensive back. And Ed Reed, I think you can make the case for any of them, really. I mean,
I remember watching Charles Woodson when he was at Michigan, and I remember him, like there was games they played, like they're big games, he never left the field.
Yeah.
Like he would play the defensive downs, he would do punt and kickoff returns, and he would even come in and play receivers sometimes, which is crazy. Like if you think about how many snaps dudes take in college football like that. So like in the Ohio State game, he never left the field. Like that's just ridiculous to think about.
And he was making Pro Bowls and stuff into his 30s. Like imagine the amount of he won Defensive Player of the Year or first Defensive Player of the Year? No, well, first team All-Pro at cornerback in 2011 at 35. He won the Heisman in 1997.
Think about the gravity between that. The 97-year Heisman winner, and then almost 17, 18 years later, you're still making the Pro Bowl. Like it's nuts. And he's a guy who he's a really good football analyst.
I think he's awesome, dude.
He's so good, and he knows the game. He's really smart at it, and he doesn't overtalk. Like a lot of those guys just by nature overtalk, so like they hear themselves and they like to see themselves talk. But
I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, I know, right? Could be us. He's just someone who always he's just him and Champ Bailey. I used to love Champ Bailey too.
Oh, Champ was Loller's boy. That was his favorite player of all time.
Dr. Loller. I love Champ Bailey, man.
Champ was awesome.
He was always somebody who was always one of my favorite players to watch. He was another guy who he didn't talk much, but he was just so good, and you just loved watching him because you knew he was gonna make a play. If that team ever needed to play, Champ Bailey was coming through for him.
That's low key one of the worst trades ever, I think.
Portis.
And I think Clinton Portis was awesome in Denver.
Yeah.
He played a while in Washington, but it was never like young Clinton Portis was, again, another hurricane, obviously, an absolute beast in Denver. At that time, they had 3 of the best running backs I've seen in my life in that division between LT, Priest, Holmes, and him, just for that era.
When they got him, and that was an awful trade, I think. But I get it, but I think
it would never happen now. Obviously,
no.
It's for different era.
That just tells you how good Champ Bailey was. But they did that. That trade would never be done.
No, it's like trading Jalen Ramsey for I don't know, like Derrick Henry. No one would do that.
Yeah, that's exactly like the gravity of it, considering where it was and where both those guys were in their careers. Would be like, like the Chargers calling or whoever. The Rams calling tomorrow and saying, "Yo, like, what's up with swap for swap?"
You never see swap for swap in football. It's a baseball move. You know what I mean?
So that's so funny because I was talking to my dad about it the other day, and he was saying that as long as he's been watching we were talking number 25 for the Sixers. He who shall not be named, but he was saying
who?
who? You rarely see like a swap for swap in the NFL. Um, it's mostly like a baseball thing, and sometimes basketball. But even in basketball, it's always something else attached. Like guys rarely make the same amount of money.
It's usually one big guy and then like 2 or 3 smaller guys and then a couple picks.
You got, or like, and then like and obviously the draft picks and stuff, but like you got to put. So it's a situation where another quick aside. It's the situation they're in, which makes this whole thing stink even worse because he's a max player. So now, like, you can't, unless you're taking back a max player like a Dane or a Brad Bill, the players you take back also have to match. So like, you got to find 6 guys who make up to what Ben Simmons is making too. So like, take those 6 guys, and they got to be something. It can't just be like, give us your 3 best bench players and your 2 fringe starters. Like that sucks. That's an awful trade. But like so it's I God bless that front office because I want them to get it right. They need to get it right for the sake of Joel Embiid, but I do not envy the position they're in right now.
I think Daryl Morey will buy an NFT of Woj's tweet of the Ben Simmons trade.
Oh yeah, we should. You know what? We should get the odds on that. I should talk to. We should talk to somebody and see if we can
see what Wavy's got on it.
Some kind. See what we can get. Again, we are just a betting pod, no affiliation. So we should reach out to everybody and see who's willing to put some odds down on that.
We could wrap up with some odds here, I think, for next Sunday. The early line, Raiders haven't played yet. You'll be listening to this on Sunday. The Raiders will play then. We're recording this early on Saturday, the 16th. Early line for the Eagles in Vegas next week, Sunday, October 24th. What would you guess the line is? I know I told you what it was before the show, but like, what would you have said you thought the line would be?
I would probably say in Vegas, I would probably say the Raiders would be a touchdown favorite.
Plus 2.5.
Oh.
I haven't gotten any of the lines this year for the Eagles. And I haven't touched any of them. I know they covered against Tampa Bay, but are they just the ultimate backdoor cover team? Because they did I don't think they covered against San Francisco, but it was a situation where they scored again late. They scored again late against Dallas. They did it against Kansas City. Is this the identity of this team is that they could be a good backdoor cover team? That's the identity, but Nick Sirianni can't say that.
It feeds into my next point. This is not coming out again. You guys are listening to this, on Sunday after the Eagles have played Tampa Bay. But a point that feeds into is in the past 2 games, Jalen Hurts has had 2 rushing touchdowns. That leads right into that backdoor cover thing because that's a good, like, they're such a weird fourth quarter team where like they have this little engine that could, so like they keep playing hard, so they get those 2 like garbage touchdowns at the beginning of the fourth quarter and they eventually lose the game. I think there might be a point. There might be something to like Vegas saying, all right, well, if they do that against the Raiders, they actually might win the game. Because I think that's part
Vegas knows, right?
If anybody knows, Vegas does. That's for sure.
You're not going out there, right?
No, I wish to.
I've never done Vegas like I went there once when I was with my parents when I was younger, just touristy thing, but I've never gone as an adult. I don't even know if I want to go. Like, sure, I'd want to. If it's all inclusive, sure, but feels a little rough on the pockets. I mean, you could make it all back, I guess, in theory, if you're you got those odds and end zones going.
Yeah, it's a great city. I've been a couple times. I actually got married in Vegas.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we
on a whim or no?
No. So very quick story. We wanted a destination. So we knew that, and at the time, my fiance had not gone to Vegas, so she said, "How about Vegas?" So
I guess if we have to, we have to go to Vegas.
You know what? You twisted my arm. We're going to Vegas to get married. So we plan on going back probably to celebrate our 10-year, which is 5 years away. So, but it's a cool city though, man. I will my Vegas advice to everybody that goes is don't count how much you lose because you're going to lose a lot. but don't even count it. Just close your eyes and say it was a great trip. I'll see you in 3 more years, Vegas, because that's how long it's gonna take to recover.
We'll be out there like Timberlake and Charlie Wilson in
Yeah.
that video. Did you? I know this will be out on Sunday after the college slate, but did you want to give your college picks and we could follow up with them next week? I know you usually like the college picks guy.
Quick picks. Again, you guys are gonna hear.
Did Clemson win? Did Clemson cover last night? Did they win in the Dome?
You know what? That's a good question. I turned it off. They were up a touchdown.
Siri, call Wavy Davy.
They won 17-14.
Oh,
they were
13.5 points.
13.5.
That's not.
That's going to upset. I was going to say
he might get his thumbs broken.
Swaggy might get his wrist broken or something. That was his lock.
He quad bombed, I think.
Yeah.
But Wavy did say, like, I know he's a Cuse guy that Friday night in the Dome is that's an undertaking. That's a even if Syracuse isn't a good team that specific year, that's a no-fly zone kind of. I like that energy.
I agree with Davey. It actually is that's a weird. That had trap game been all over it. I'm surprised it even came out with the W because Friday night in the Dome it can be a house of horrors. Like you go in top ranked and you come out losing. It's just a weird. Also, when you're in college, a Friday night game is so weird to prepare for. Like
throws your whole body off, and the home team is ready for it. It's a weird travel week. It's weird, and they're 19 and 20-year-old human beings. If your school schedule is weird for a week, you feel that.
So weird because that's one less day of practice. It's one less day of conditioning, and like one less day of getting your body right. So your whole week is thrown off. So everything you've done on a normal week, you have one less day of.
Yeah.
And you got to show up Friday night and like be ready to win. Like, dude, that's how upsets happen.
Yeah.
So speaking of upsets, which I don't pick any with these two, but
I'm gonna write them down so I don't forget for next week.
So
you're going on the record, bro.
So my two big ones for the week. So we got Texas versus Oklahoma State. Texas is reeling from that crazy Red River shootout with Oklahoma, and they are facing an Oklahoma State team that's fresh off a bye. But I don't know, man. Steve Sarkisian has that team, that Texas team scoring 44, almost 50 points a game. They're actually desperate for a W right now to stay alive in that Big 12 division. So I actually think that I'm going to take Texas and the over. I think the over under is 60. And they think they're average, and Oklahoma State can score as well. So I think Texas
UT money line.
Yeah, UT money line for sure. Okay. And the next one, my game of the week, our Georgia Bulldogs. They're playing the Kentucky Wildcats. This one's down in Athens.
Kentucky team, man.
Yeah. Down in Athens, between the hedges. Actually, it's going to be a really good game, I think. Kentucky has a good defense. They got a couple of guys on offense who can score. Georgia has a couple of guys banged up, but they got, they're newly ranked number 1 team in the country after Bama's loss. But I think that what you're going to see is it's probably going to be low scoring, probably going to be determined by who can make a last stop, and that Georgia defense has yet to prove me wrong. So I think I'm going to ride defense on this one, and I'm going to go Georgia money line as well.
Do you like not that you're picking this, but do you like Kentucky on the spread? What's the spread? It's got to be double digits, right?
Let me check again. I think it's double digits.
I think the last time I saw it was like 15.
Yeah, give me one.
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right. It's right here. I'm logging into FanDuel right now. Not affiliated.
Not yet.
Not yet. FanDuel, holla at us. They are
21 and a half.
21 and a half. I don't.
So not that's your play, but
yeah, that's
you like play. Kentucky. You like the Kentucky thing. Plus, I like Kentucky plus.
Yeah, that 21 and a half is dangerous. I don't think they're that bad. Like I understand where they are. Obviously, Georgia is a house of horrors for many teams, but I think Kentucky's a little better than that.
Have they ever been ranked number 1 in this Kirby Smart era?
No,
I don't think so either. Just because they've been like 2, 3, 4 a lot, and then obviously a lot of that.
Yeah, they've been
Bama
2,
or
3,
Clemson
4.
and or the Bama Clemson era.
I was going to say it's crazy because the Kirby Smart era has always been the Clemson Bama era, so like they've never had an opportunity to be ranked higher than 2 or 3 or even 4. So this is it. We'll see, man. I know he takes a lot of flack, rightfully so, because a lot of his teams tend to be really good defensively and then suck offensively, mostly due to the quarterback. So we'll see. He's got a good quarterback. He's got a formidable, offensive line receivers and one heck of a defense. So we'll see how he does.
When would you say the last time Georgia won the national championship is? I just looked it up.
Oh my God, man! It's got to be.
Neither of us were alive.
I was just going to say, I was born in '85. Definitely was way before I was alive. So
80.
Probably was it '60s, '70s?
80.
Woo.
They have fewer national championships than the Penn Quakers. I'll throw that out there.
That's incredible.
I mean, there might have only been 3 or 4 teams playing back then, but they got the hardware.
Still counts. And given the fact that they are a Power 5 program, it's crazy. It's also a testament to how hard it is to win. Like
especially in the SEC.
It's a note that I put down too, that it's really, really hard to win in college football and win it consistently and win in the SEC. So
you've seen at least 4 other teams win: Auburn, LSU, Bama, Florida. Florida State. Florida State. Oh no, they're ACC now.
Oh yeah, ACC. Sorry,
they could have been the SEC previously.
So like. You look at those teams, like it's tough. It is not for the weary at all.
Well, you probably would have thought Florida has won more than they have too. They had 2 under Urban. It was the Chris Leak year.
Yeah, Chris Leak.
Tebow was a kind of a gadget player, and then the one year when Tebow actually won. And then I think Spurrier had one with Sexy Rex Grossman, and he might have had another one too.
Rexy.
With or Danny Warfel. One of those two.
Those teams, again, like when we were growing up, like those teams, like the Florida State teams, a lot of those teams we thought they won a lot. They actually didn't. Like they were just flashy and had a lot.
Hard to win in college football.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is, dude. Like we were like watching it, looking back at it now as an adult. It's like, that team never won anything. They just had really good players and just like flashy, but they never won like any hardware for it. It's interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will hold you to those picks next week. And then next week we don't have a definitive date set. Ideally, we could record Thursday or Friday. We'll go over some more Eagles Raiders stuff.
Yep.
We do have this early line. We'll see if that changes depending on how the Raiders or anything else going wrong in the NFL occurs this weekend and early next week. But if for me, anything else plug? Need Sixers on Wednesday. Need 25 gone.
Sixers on Wednesday. Sixers on Friday. Home opener. Need 25 gone. So don't hold me. You may hold me for this.
We'll hold you to. I'm getting my pen right now.
I think this saga ends way sooner than we all think. I think he's gone in the next week to 2 weeks. I buy what they're saying on management end, but I think that for all parties involved, it's going to be a swift resolution. And I think that they will destroy the Pelicans on opening night. And I think that they
Sans Zion.
Yeah, Sans Zion. It should be a good workout. And then Friday they'll beat the Nets by 5 on Friday at home.
Kyrie and Ben are going to be playing 1-on-1 at 18th and Johnston while the other teams actually play.
Typical, a day in the life of those two winners.
All right. I'll let you go, bro.
All right, brother.
Good pod. Be sure to follow us, subscribe, leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. Also, we do these podcasts on YouTube. Subscribe to the BGN YouTube channel. I will have our great podcast producer, Rachel, include a link to our podcast channel or Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel in the episode description. So be sure to subscribe there. Helps us out. Watch, give us some thumbs up, some comments, all of that.
Yep.
So no Eagles this weekend. You'll hear this on Sunday. Have a stress-free Sunday.
Have a stress-free Sunday.
Saturday.
Enjoy. Spend some time with the folks. Watch the session tomorrow night.
Hit that pumpkin patch. Get it out of the way.
Yeah, and call it a weekend.
Yeah.